You got to keep on trucking, mama, trucking your blues away. Keep on trucking, mama, trucking till the break of day. You gotta get up in the morning, gotta get up late to go down to the...
Well, hi, and welcome to another edition of Surreal's Underground Comics Classics. So far, I have told you how much your comics are worth, or at least where you can find out. I've told you where to buy your comics. Now, I'm going to tell you how you know if you have a first edition. The first edition, that is the holy grail of all underground comics collectors. You may have a 5, a 5th, a 6th, a 12th edition, but you want to get the first edition. That's so you can collect them. That's when they're worth something. The first edition, the first place you should look is usually in the indicia. Where's the indicia? Most all comics, most, not all, but most, have their indicia at the bottom of page 2. For you mainstream comic collectors, that is the inside front cover. As per the rule set down by Kennedy, page 2 is the inside front cover, page 1 is the cover. Okay, you look at the indicia. Look towards the bottom of the indicia. It will tell you, usually, printing number 54321. Now, if you see 54321, that means you have a first edition. If it says 5432, that's a second edition. There's a logic behind this, because if you see 543, duh, that's a third edition. Okay, now, at the beginning of the printing of underground comics, nobody thought they would be worth anything. Nobody bothered with that type of information. They printed an edition. If they made some money, cool. Well, they became popular, so they had to print another edition. They didn't think about it would be worth something. If you have a Last Gasp Echo Funnies publication, probably doesn't have the printing edition on it. The only publishing house that really followed that was Kitchen Sink Publications. Dennis Kitchen made it pretty much a rule to put the printing number at the bottom there. That's the 54321 type of thing. Didn't always follow it. I actually found a Kitchen Sink comic that didn't have it on there, and I had to ask Dennis Kitchen himself which one it was, and which he told me, and he was kind of surprised that that one didn't make it either. Okay, so how else can you tell? If it's not on there, how can you know? Okay, another good indicator is the cover price. Comic printings didn't always make it. You know, they didn't publish them and then 3 months later publish another edition, and 3 months later, you know, they're usually separated by years. So as a consequence, costs went up, and so the cover price went up. So if you have a first edition, it's like, 25 cents or 50 cents. The second edition, 75 cents. The third edition's $1. That's usually a pretty good indicator. And now we get into the myth and lore of underground comics collecting. The myth and the lore! Because now it becomes this, who remembers who did what when? So there now, between particular printing editions, there are differences. There are differences in color. There are differences in the cover. There are differences in the little items. In fact, there are even differences in which stories are in the comics. You really got to get into it. The Kennedy Guide kind of introduces you to it. Zonker's site, ugcomics.info, that usually gives you a really good indicator. You start looking for the little differences. Like some of the holy grails, see, like the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers #1. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many printings this thing is currently in. I know it's greater than 12. But you got to go back to the first edition, the second edition, the third edition. What are the differences? Gosh, in Freak Brothers #1, there were so many differences between the printings, but they're subtle. You got to really look for them. Okay, look for the cover price. Sometimes it's a 50-cent cover price that's purple. Sometimes it's a 50-cent cover price that's blue. And it starts going up. We got the 60-cent cover price. You got the big circle that has no cover price on it at all. You have the 75-cent cover price. Okay, now look at the front cover. Look at the tire down there in the... Which side am I on? Okay, look at the tire down there. Is it a gray tire? Is it a white tire? Is it a white wall tire? Duh.